If you are on the journey toward a green card, whether through a relative, an employment opportunity, or any other immigrant visa classification, there is one document that governs your schedule more than nearly anything else. It is released every single month. And yet, so many individuals who are awaiting their green card have never truly sat down and examined it. They are uncertain what it signifies. They are uncertain how to locate their position in it, and they are uncertain what to do once they have. That document is the Visa Bulletin. And today on US Updates Hub, we are going to dissect it for you entirely from the ground up in straightforward language, so that by the moment this video concludes, you will understand precisely how to interpret the Visa Bulletin, what your priority date represents, how to monitor your case, and what your subsequent actions are. Whether you are completely new to the immigration procedure or you have been waiting for years and simply never thoroughly comprehended this document, this video is designed for you. Remain with us because this information could authentically transform how you perceive your own case. Let us commence at the very start because the Visa Bulletin only becomes logical once you grasp why it exists in the first place. The United States has perpetually been a destination for individuals who aspire to construct a better existence. Congress across many decades has established a framework of immigrant visas. These are the lawful channels that permit foreign nationals to become lawful permanent residents, also recognized as green card holders. But here's the difficulty. More individuals desire to immigrate to the United States annually than the law permits. Congress has imposed numerical caps, legal restrictions on how many green cards can be granted in each classification each year. So not everybody who qualifies can arrive at the identical time. There must be a queue. The Visa Bulletin is the authoritative document that indicates where you stand in that queue. It is issued every single month by the U.S. Department of State, and it is one of the most essential instruments you can utilize to comprehend your immigration journey. Now, the initial thing you must recognize is that the Visa Bulletin pertains specifically to what are termed preference immigrant visas. These differ from immediate relative visas. If you are the spouse, parent, or unmarried child below the age of 21 of a U.S. citizen, you are what the statute designates an immediate relative, and there is no yearly restriction on those visas. You do not need to wait in a queue the identical way. But if you belong to a preference classification, such as a married son or daughter of a U.S. citizen, a sibling of a U.S. citizen, or a relative of a lawful permanent resident, or if you are applying through an employment-based classification, then yearly numerical restrictions apply to you, and the Visa Bulletin is the document you must follow every month. As of fiscal year 2026, the statute allocates approximately 226,000 family-sponsored preference immigrant visas yearly and at least 140,000 employment-based preference visas yearly. These figures are established by Congress under the Immigration and Nationality Act. Let us discuss the preference classifications because this is where considerable confusion originates. On the family side, there are 4 preference classifications. The initial is designated F1, which represents the first preference family classification, and it encompasses unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens who are 21 years old or above. Then there is the second preference, which is divided into 2 segments. F2A encompasses spouses and unmarried children below 21 of lawful permanent residents, and F2B encompasses unmarried sons and daughters 21 and above of lawful permanent residents. The third preference, F3, encompasses married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. And the fourth preference, F4, encompasses brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens. On the employment side, there are likewise multiple preference levels. EB1 for priority workers, multinational managers, and persons of extraordinary ability. EB2 for professionals with advanced degrees or exceptional ability. EB3 for skilled workers, professionals, and other workers. EB4 for certain special immigrants, and EB5 for immigrant investors. Once you identify which classification pertains to you, you are prepared to locate your position in the Visa Bulletin. Now, here is a term you absolutely must comprehend: your priority date. Your priority date is fundamentally your position in the queue. It is the date that your immigrant visa petition was formally submitted to USCIS, or in instances where a labor certification is necessary, which is typical in employment-based cases. It is the date the labor certification application was received by the Department of Labor. Consider your priority date the manner you might consider the ticket you draw at a deli counter. The smaller the number, or in this instance, the earlier the date, the nearer you are to being attended. Your priority date does not alter once it is determined. It is connected to your approved petition and it accompanies you throughout your case. If you are uncertain what your priority date is, you can discover it on the receipt notice or approval notice that USCIS generated for your petition. It is generally indicated as the filing date on Form I-130 for family cases or Form I-140 for employment cases. Now, let us examine how the Visa Bulletin genuinely operates. Each month, the Department of State issues this bulletin at travel.state.gov. The most recent bulletin accessible as we produce this video is the April 2026 Visa Bulletin, which is issued as number 13, volume ends, and is obtainable directly on the Department of State's official website. When you access the bulletin, you will observe charts, tables containing dates in them. There are actually two varieties of charts in the bulletin, and this is where numerous individuals become perplexed. The initial chart is termed the Final Action Dates chart. This is the definitive chart that indicates when a visa is genuinely accessible to be granted when your case can be finalized. The second chart is termed the Dates for Filing Applications chart. This chart can occasionally permit you to submit certain applications sooner before your visa is completely accessible. If USCIS establishes there are more visas accessible than identified applicants in a particular month, USCIS publishes direction each month on its own website, uscis.gov, specifying which chart you should employ for adjustment of status submissions. So, it is critically essential that you verify USCIS's website alongside the Visa Bulletin itself each month. Let us walk through how to interpret one of these charts together. Across the upper portion of the chart, you will observe column headings. Some of those headings are nation names, specifically China, India, Mexico, and the Philippines. Because those four nations are what the Department of State designates oversubscribed, signifying so many individuals from those nations seek green cards that they reach the per-country restriction, which is fixed by statute at 7% of the total yearly green card distribution for fiscal year 2026. That per-country restriction calculates to approximately 25,620 visas per nation, across all preference classifications combined. Every other nation in the world falls under a heading simply termed All Chargeability Areas, except those listed often shortened as Rest of World or Worldwide. Down the left margin of the chart, you will observe the preference classifications F1, F2A, F2B, F3, F4 for family, and EB1 through EB5 for employment. Where your row and your column intersect, you will discover either a date, the letter C, or the letter U. If you observe the letter C, that signifies the classification is current. There is no congestion for your nation in that classification, and you may advance without delay. If you observe the letter U, that signifies the classification is unauthorized. No visas are accessible at all in that classification for that month. And if you observe a date, for instance, a date like January 1st, 2020, that signifies only applicants whose priority date is earlier than that date may progress that month. So if your priority date falls before that threshold date, congratulations, your number has been summoned. If your priority date falls after the displayed date, you are still in line. Let us make this tangible with a practical illustration. Imagine your name is Maria and your U.S. citizen sister submitted a petition for you under the F4 sibling preference classification. Let us say Maria was born in the Philippines, and her petition was submitted and approved with a priority date of March 15, 2004. Maria navigates to the April 2026 Visa Bulletin and locates the Final Action Dates chart. She locates the F4 row, then moves across to the Philippines column. She observes a particular threshold date displayed there. If that threshold date is later than March 15, 2004, signifying the threshold has progressed past her priority date, Maria's number is current, and she may pursue the subsequent actions in her case. If the threshold date remains earlier than March 2004, she continues to wait. This is the variety of monthly monitoring that millions of individuals around the globe perform every single month. And it counts because overlooking the window when your date becomes current can produce substantial setbacks. There is something additional you must comprehend, and that is the notion of retrogression. Occasionally, dates shift backwards, not forwards. This transpires when more individuals than projected submit applications in a particular classification, or when visa demand surges unexpectedly toward the conclusion of the fiscal year, which spans from October through September. When a date retrogresses, it signifies individuals who believed their turn had arrived suddenly discover themselves waiting once more. This can feel enormously disheartening, but it is a genuine component of how the framework operates, and it is something to track attentively. It is one rationale why having an immigration attorney or qualified representative who monitors the bulletin on your behalf can prove so beneficial. USCIS itself has recognized that the visa bulletin framework is intricate, and in recent years both USCIS and the Department of State have been endeavoring to better forecast demand and enhance predictability in the monthly dates. That initiative is continuing as of April 2026. So, what should you genuinely do right now today with this knowledge? Let us walk through some specific action measures. First, if you possess a pending immigrant visa petition, whether family-based or employment-based, find your receipt notice or approval notice and record your priority date. That date is your reference point. Second, navigate to the Department of State's official website, travel.state.gov, and proceed to the Visa Bulletin section. Locate the most current bulletin as of this recording, that is April 2026, and determine which preference classification pertains to your case and which nation you are charged to, which is typically your nation of birth. Third, examine the applicable chart, final action dates, or dates for filing depending on what USCIS directs on its website that month, and compare the displayed threshold date to your priority date. Fourth, establish a calendar notification to perform this every month. The bulletin emerges in the latter portion of the preceding month, so the May bulletin generally emerges in the third or fourth week of April. Keeping current with the monthly publication is authentically significant. Fifth, if your priority date is nearing the threshold or has already surpassed it, consult with an immigration attorney or accredited representative immediately. Obtaining prompt direction at that juncture can represent the distinction between a seamless case and avoidable setbacks. Now, there is one additional crucial component of the puzzle for those of you who are presently inside the United States on a valid visa and aspiring to adjust your status, that is to transition from your existing visa standing to a green card without departing the country. That procedure is governed by Form I-4885, the application to register permanent residence or adjust status. You can only submit that form when a visa is accessible to you, and the Visa Bulletin is what informs you when that occurs. As we observed earlier, USCIS publishes a monthly revision on uscis.gov specifying which chart to employ, final action dates, or dates for filing. So always examine both the Department of State and USCIS websites jointly. They function in coordination to administer this procedure, and both authoritative sources should serve as your primary references. For those of you proceeding through consular processing, signifying you are outside the United States and will obtain your immigrant visa at a U.S. embassy or consulate overseas, the procedure is somewhat different. Your case advances through the National Visa Center after your petition is approved, and the National Visa Center will contact you and gather your documents when your priority date is approaching. But you still must comprehend where the Visa Bulletin threshold dates are, because the National Visa Center will not arrange your interview until your date is current under the Final Action Dates chart. Comprehending the bulletin assists you in anticipating when that correspondence is probable to arrive and ensuring all of your documents are structured and prepared. A note about nations with extended congestion, because this is a reality numerous viewers must hear directly. If you were born in India or China and you are in an employment-based preference classification, especially EB2 or EB3, the waiting periods can be remarkably prolonged. This is a thoroughly documented and persistent challenge in the U.S. immigration framework. Analysts and immigration attorneys have composed extensively about this matter, Observing that the combination of elevated demand and the per-country restriction generates congestion that in some classifications extends for numerous years. The identical holds true for citizens of Mexico and the Philippines, in particular family preference classifications. This is not something that will transform overnight without an act of Congress, but remaining knowledgeable, maintaining your documents current, preserving valid immigration standing, and collaborating with a qualified professional are the most assertive measures you can pursue while you wait. Before we conclude, let us be explicit about something. The information in this video is supplied for educational objectives exclusively. Immigration policy can and does shift. The visa bulletin itself shifts every single month. Dates progress forward, dates retrogress. USCIS revises its direction on which chart to employ, and wider policy modifications can influence the complete framework. Nothing in this video should be interpreted as legal counsel for your particular circumstances. Every immigration case is distinct. Please always refer to the official USCIS website at uscis.gov and the Department of State's Visa Bulletin at travelstate.gov for the most current definitive information. And if you possess a pending case, please collaborate with a licensed immigration attorney or an accredited representative who can furnish you individualized direction, grounded in your specific facts and circumstances. As of April 14, 2026, the information conveyed here mirrors current policy and official direction, but we urge you to confirm details consistently. Here at US Updates Hub, our purpose has perpetually been identical: to render complex immigration information reachable, precise, and comprehensible for everyone. Whether you are a recent arrival just commencing this journey, a family member assisting a loved one through the procedure, or someone who has been waiting patiently for years, you are entitled to comprehend what is transpiring in your case and why. You are entitled to transparency, not bewilderment, and that is precisely what we are here to deliver every single week. If this video assisted you in understanding the Visa Bulletin in a manner it never quite connected before, please give it a thumbs up. It genuinely does assist more individuals in discovering this material when they require it most. Forward it to a companion or relative who is on this identical journey. You never realize who in your circle might be examining that Visa Bulletin right now, bewildered and overwhelmed, questioning what any of it signifies. Be the individual who forwards them this video, and if you have not previously subscribed to US Updates Hub, now is the moment. Press that subscribe button and activate notifications so you never overlook an update. We address the Visa Bulletin every month alongside the newest immigration developments, policy modifications, and actionable direction that impacts real individuals and real families. Examine the video description for connections to the official Department of State Visa Bulletin page, the USCIS Adjustment of Status Filing Direction page, and other dependable resources that can assist you in navigating this procedure. You are not solitary in this, and you do not need to resolve it independently. We will be here every phase of the journey. Until the following time, look after yourselves, watch out for one another, and continue progressing forward. This is US Updates Hub. This content is for educational and informational purposes only. It does not constitute legal advice,